Hello, welcome to Human Tech, a podcast about the intersection between humans and technology. My name is Guthrie. I'm here with Susan. Hello, Susan.
I'm here.
And we have no special guest today. It's just the
I know
two
we
of us.
had all this whole run of guests.
Well, you know, we could have broken them up, but we don't like to do that. So, whatever.
We take them whenever they are available.
Yeah. So now you have the magical list. I don't have the list at all.
Yeah.
Of today's topic, so I'll let you take it away.
Okay, so I thought that we could go through and talk about some of the conferences that we have either been to or spoken at. Most of these I think are spoken at. That have to do with technology and user experience and marketing and all the places we go to. And just kind of give some insights about each of these conferences, which are in various parts of the world. And in the hopes maybe that the people listening might say, oh, wait, that sounds like a great conference. Maybe I want to check that one out and go to that one. If they, some people I hopefully have a budget that will allow them to attend a conference now and then. So that's what I thought we would do today.
Okay. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, I don't know, but we like conferences.
I think
like conferences.
Everyone likes conferences, right? As long as they're good conferences.
Yeah, and we've been invited to some really interesting ones. Some conferences that I hadn't heard about before. I didn't know about until they contacted us and asked us if we would speak. And then, as I said, there's a few in here that I've been to also just as a participant. So that's our plan for today. I have this list of conferences.
So to start out, what makes a good conference?
Oh, as an attendee or as a speaker?
Let's start with attendee and then we'll do speaker.
Well, I think that different people would have different answers to that. I mean, I think what makes a good conference as an attendee is a number of things. One is that it's really well organized and well put together in the sense of, if you have a question, before you arrive even, it's easy to get an answer. That it's really easy. The registration process at the website is easy, right? Is usable. You'd be surprised. There are some kind of usability or UX conferences, and their registration portal is like not easy to use. And so that whole aspect, I think a good conference is one where, continuing on just for a second with this ease of use, that, when you get there, it's really easy to find. It's easy to get your name tag, and check in. But beyond that kind of stuff, I think as an attendee, I want good speakers. I want interesting sessions, whether these are speakers or whether they're panel sessions, or whether there are, workshops that happen before and after. I want the topics to be, relevant to what I'm interested in, and I want the speakers to be good. I like conferences where there is a variety of events. Not that it's just, you sit in a room and there's a full day of, 1 hour talks, which is fine. And I've been a speaker at a lot of those. And the issue, though, is even if all the speakers are great, if you're just sitting in one spot, hour after hour after hour, and everybody comes up and gives their talk, even no matter how good the speakers are, even that gets a little tiring after a while. So I like it when there's, you can attend a session that is maybe a speech, but then there's another session that's a panel, and there's another session that's a short speech versus a long speech. So I think some variety is always welcome. I think it's really critical as an attendee that there are opportunities for networking and talking to other people. I think a lot of people like this, but these are quality opportunities. So not just like a 5-minute, break to get coffee, but that there's, a full 15, 20, half an hour break where you get to meet people or find people or talk to one of the speakers that just presented. That there's, I'm going to talk about this as we go through in some individual ones, but some of my favorite things are when there's a reception, in the evening, before the conference starts or during the conference. So again, more opportunity to meet other people and talk to other people, because that's one of the reasons you go to a conference. It's not just to get ideas and hear the speakers, but also to meet other people like you who are in the field. So I think if the conference organizer has built that in, and then there's little things that I think really make a big difference. Might not seem that important, but enough breaks, like to go to the restroom. I just can't believe some of the conferences. There's like, you can, if you're going to go to the restroom, you're going to miss something. They just go after, they just keep going and going and going, and you have to go. To be crude about it, and it's kind of frustrating. It's like, could you please just build in some times when we can all run to the restroom. So those are some of the things that I think are important. What about you? Do you have anything to add to that?
Am I doing as a speaker or as
No, I'm started as an attendee. Just doing it as an attendee.
An attendee.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think there are two different types: big conferences and small conferences.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to small conferences, well, for all conferences, I think having a leisurely pace is important.
What do you mean by leisurely pace?
I do agree that I have a theory about why things are so frantic.
Okay, what's your theory?
That they're trying to sell this to bosses. And so if the boss looks at the schedule and sees there's like, oh, you're going to 2 sessions, well, like, why would I send you? Versus there's like 18 sessions and you're going to learn all this stuff. And it's going to be this, and it's going to be that, and you're going to be up and you're going to be down and sideways, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's why. But if I was just going in as an attendee, having breaks in between is good. I'd like to follow the 80-20 rule. Which
is what?
If the talk is 80 for every length of time, each talk should have, it's really the 60-20-20 rule is what I would follow.
That? What is that?
Okay. So however long a talk is, 60% should be the talk. 20% should be a Q&A, or some allowance of discussion to take the conversation where it needs to and get people engaged. And then 20% should be a break.
Yeah.
So 60-20-20. So that's what I would suggest people do. So if it's an hour, if it's 100 minutes, which is basically an hour and a half, you'd have an hour-long talk, 20-minute Q&A, and then, so that's what I think. I think you can do things in the break that aren't just people milling around and dull noise and people waiting. For example, I wouldn't mind if there were interesting movies that played about the topic, or a small panel that came up and spoke very quickly. Some sort of vendor game where, you know how they have like the show floor, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Right. Like the talk is over. Thanks. We're gonna take a 20-minute break, and people don't have to leave. But like in the room where the talks are happening, there are people can rotate to the other kind of stuff, for 20 minutes and then kind of come back just to mix it up. But then if people need to switch and go to a different track, or if people need to go to the bathroom or whatever, there's time for that.
Yeah.
But I find if it's just a really, really long break, people, they get out their laptops, they check their email, they just like, everyone's just kind of waiting around.
Yeah.
So it's something to keep the motivation moving, but breaking it up, a magician would be really awesome.
Yeah.
So just something like that. Okay, so basically all that stuff I talked about is all about pace.
Yeah.
It's about pace and spacing and momentum.
I guess other things I would add as an attendee is great food.
I was just thinking that. I was going to say great food would be really wonderful.
Yeah, the food is really important.
And what I find, actually, there are two, and it is interesting. There are two types of conferences. Yeah. There's the Apple conferences, and there's like the Mac conferences and the Windows conferences.
What does that mean?
So some conferences are Mac conferences where there's like one main track or maybe two main tracks.
Yeah.
And like everyone is together and this is how it's going to be, and you do this and then you do this and you do this and your day is done. And then there's like the Windows conferences where it's like there are 16 different tracks and each track has 4 options and you can mix and match. And so there are like 16 sessions going at any given time, and Q&As and panels and interactive things. And
so which do you prefer?
I don't know. I think it's kind of like, I don't think there is a right answer.
No, but which do you personally prefer?
I think probably having the Mac conference is probably a little better.
Yeah, I mean, I think this part is a personal preference. I like small conferences as an attendee. I like small conferences, and I like single track or close to single track conferences.
I feel like what's important, and so the first thing is pacing and space, and momentum. Okay.
Yeah.
The second thing that I think, and we're circling around it, is common shared experiences.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really, really important. And that's why I think when you think back to the conferences that were best, that you had like the best time at, or that have stayed with you.
Yeah.
There were probably conferences where you were, or think of people you met at conferences. There were probably conferences where people were doing things all together. There was a set of shared experiences that like everyone at the conference was doing. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
And so having a more Apple-like conference allows you to have a more shared experience because you're doing, there's less options.
Yeah.
And then the third thing
is
the experience of it. And by that just the just like it's nice to work in a nice office, it's nice to be in a nice venue.
Yeah, that
lighting,
meaning like
good
lighting,
sound
the
quality.
Seats,
Oh
the sound,
my God, how important is that to have a good mic situation and speaker setup? But yes.
Well, that's as a speaker, but even as
as an
attendee, right?
Nothing worse than having
right. Right, where the sound is good and the lighting is good, and
I
agree with you. Great food, yep.
Yeah.
And then there's where it's easy to get to in terms of from your hotel to the conference. Yeah. Then we could there's also what wonderful city is it in, right? Do you enjoy the city that it's in? So these are all as an attendee, these are all considerations. And as we talk through some of the conferences I have on my list here, we can talk about which ones we think excel in one of those areas over another. I mean, from a speaker, and why don't we talk about what's important to us as speakers as we go through the conference list? Because then we could say what we liked from a speaker's point of view about these particular ones. Does that sound good? Mm-hmm. So I have this list. It's not really in any particular order. It's probably just in the order I've thought about them, or the order that they appeared on when I was going through our client list, just because they are our clients. So these aren't in alphabetical order or anything like that. And I thought, as we're going through, maybe we can also talk about when the next one is, for this conference. So if people are interested in it, they could, think about, is that coming up really soon, or is that coming up in the fall, or is that like early 2019 or whatever? Does that sound all right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the first one I have on the list to talk about is From Business to Buttons.
Well, we're not going very far back. What is the order of these again?
No particular order at all.
Oh. I was thinking we should have gone chronologically.
Well, sorry, that's not happening. Unless you want to pause the podcast and let me go do that. I don't have them in that order. Is that bad?
I feel like chronologically is better.
Okay, but I don't have them chronologically.
Well, how about I give you a couple?
What do you mean?
Well, because I can do them chronologically right now.
In terms of when is the next one coming up, you mean?
No, in terms of all the conferences probably that are on your list. I can do them chronologically.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
Go ahead. Take a step.
I want to start with UXPA.
All right. That's fine. So we'll start with UXPA. And I'm bringing it up on the screen. I'm going to bring these up to get actual dates and cities as we talk about them. UXPA, which stands for User Experience Professional Association. And it used to be called the UPA, Usability Professionals Association. And somewhere along the line, and I was there when they announced the change, but I don't remember when it was, they changed it. But UPA or UXPA has been going on. Oh, how long has it been going on? That is a great question. I was at not the first one, but I was at the second one they ever did, which was in the late 1990s. So it's been going on for quite some time. And this year, it is in June 26th through 28th, 2018, if you're listening to this, as we're talking about it.
What was the first one you went to?
And it's in Puerto Rico this year. The first one I went to, I wish they had a list. I'm at their website. I'm wishing they had a list of like all the past ones that they ever had so I could find the year. It was in San Jose, California. And they're usually always around the same time in June or July. And I spoke at the first one I went to, which was the second year they did it. I spoke at the conference. And I've been to many of these, not all of them. For a while, I went every year. And that was back when there weren't so many conferences dedicated to our field.
And there was no internet? So it's not like you could just find other UX people to hang out with.
There weren't a lot of usability conferences
that's
back
a joke.
then.
But in all seriousness, it's not like you had a giant UX team or a meetups.com where you could just go and meet up with UX professionals.
No,
in your
you didn't.
local
There
area.
weren't that many UX professionals. Well, and it wasn't called UX back then.
And there wasn't an apparatus for it.
No, there was not.
There's no local chapter.
No. And there were, at that first conference I went to, there were probably about 300 people. And then it grew over time. I don't know how many people attend now. I think it's kind of gone up and down and up and down for this conference. And one of the reasons is that UXPA, which is an organization and has a lot of chapters now all over the world, there's a lot of the local chapters put on their own conferences now. They'll put on a 1 or 2 day conference. So the UXPA group in Boston is a really kind of well-known. I haven't been to that one, but I hear about.
I feel like UXPA as an organization ate itself.
I don't know what that means.
Like it in its quest to grow, it was a snake and it ate its tail.
I don't know.
Well, because in the quest to grow, what it did was it created all these the local chapters.
Yes.
And the local chapters all had conferences.
Well, they
and now
don't
all the conferences,
yeah.
I feel, have destroyed the power of the big main event.
I don't
I'm
know.
wrong.
Maybe. I think the other the big main event is still a main event. And now, I don't know how many people go, 700, 1,000. It's grown a lot. But it is true that, and there's so many more UX conferences now that just did not exist.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like all the other UX conferences that we're going to talk about, didn't exist back when UXPA started. So that's the other thing, is they've got a lot of competition now. But I will always have a soft spot in my heart for the UXPA conferences because it was the first of its kind. It is a real, like I said, I haven't been in the last couple of years, but in general, I went to many of them. I've probably been to 15 of them since I first went. And always well done, always a lot of fun. Wonderful place to network. I've made wonderful connections there. It used to be a place I would go and I would see all my usability friends, for all my clients and my colleagues around the country, and now it's international, so around the world. And it was the only place to go to meet up with people. And so you would always be sure that the same people would be there year after year. Now it is maybe not quite that way because there are so many other conferences. But it's very well done, multiple track. Most of the they usually have a couple of maybe kind of well-known keynote speakers, but most of the sessions are by practitioners who are just doing their work, and they submit to present their work, and really interesting topics. You can always learn something. You will always network. They do a good job at building in network time and receptions and things to go do. Like they have optional things to go do, like tour somebody's usability lab nearby and so on. So I think it's a great conference, and for any of you listening who are into UX, I think it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't been. And I as I said, I haven't been in a couple of years, and I haven't spoken in a pretty long time there. I used to speak there almost every year. They also do workshops, pre and maybe also post-conference workshops, and those are usually good too. So there you go.
There you go.
Now, what's the next one you wanted to? You're controlling the order now.
Well, I don't know how thorough your list is.
Well, it's pretty thorough. What do you want to?
Okay.
Pick one?
I'm thinking back in time.
Yeah.
What's the I remember the first one, cause so I've worked with you for about 5 years now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think the first conference that we ever did together
was
the Tim Ash one.
The Conversion Conference.
Is that what it's called? I thought it was Conversion Conference, but I didn't want to say it and then say the wrong one. And disparage the good people at whatever conference that I had misquoted.
We should check, right? And see. Yeah, so we went to, we spoke at several different conversion conferences.
I wasn't cool back then.
And they do these, and I don't know, to tell you the truth, I don't know if Tim does these, if he's the one that's in charge of these anymore.
Yeah, I kind of remember there was a thing.
He might not be. He might have moved on. Tim, you can contact us if you're listening to this. But for instance, I'm at their website right now, which says Conversion Conference has evolved into Digital Growth Unleashed. So I think it's probably a different group that's doing it now. And I haven't been to this new one.
Digital Growth Unleashed. I see that now.
Yeah, so might not be Tim's anymore. But we did go to several of the conversion conferences. It's called Conversion, meaning it's about
Yeah, it looks like it was just a rebrand.
Yeah, that it's still the same thing.
Digital Growth Unleashed is an evolution of the only international conference series on conversion rate improvement and landing page optimization, formerly called Conversion Conference.
Okay, well, that's a good description of what they do.
We need to apply to them again.
Okay.
That's probably why we haven't heard of them, because they're not doing conversion conferences anymore.
Probably. So they are.
I haven't heard from them.
They do it. Unless they've changed what they're doing, they do conferences in a number of different locations throughout the year. This one coming up is May 16th to 17th, 2018 in Las Vegas. They also looks like they have one in London in October and one in Berlin in November. And they usually do multi-track. And, as you just described, it's all about, conversion optimization. Mm-hmm. So it's about marketing, it's about persuasion, and so on. And it's usually a very lively conference. They have a photo.
This is so their conference is so there are. Can I just make a quick point?
Please.
So there are a bunch of different types of conferences, and some of them are cool and fun. This, and I don't know if they've changed anything to digital growth, but it is definitely a more nuts and bolts, schmoozing, making connections, salesy, specific. Like I'm looking at their tracks,
Yeah.
Right. Like combine paid and SEO strategies to increase your bottom line. Though they are doing how to apply storytelling to your customer journey, which you should be doing. Conversion. So, I guess, they have changed actually. I should back that off, because they're doing a lot more, what analytics aren't telling you. They're doing a lot less like nuts and bolts of how to port whatever data to the other thing, that I recall. The big keynote speakers, Rob Olsby, Deborah Jasper, and Tim Ash.
Okay, so Tim is still doing it.
Yeah.
All right.
So
anyway, that's the conversion conferences. So I agree with you. In general, it has been these are big, pretty large conferences.
You want to write down our list? We should reach out to Tim.
Sure. You want our podcast listeners to hear all about our to-do lists? All right, I'm making a note. Reach out.
This is one part podcast, one part CRM.
All right, so what's your next one?
Oh man,
you're the one that said you wanted to control the list.
Here's the thing: you got to remember though, in the early days, I actually didn't travel with you on a lot of these.
I understand. I know you have not. I get it. There's a lot on my list you have not been to, but some of them you have.
Okay. Do you have one from back in the day?
Back in the day.
That would be circa 2012, 2013.
I do.
Okay. What do you got?
I have UXLX.
Okay. Then we need to talk.
Why?
Because aren't these all just variations of UXPA? Like Tri-City UXPA?
No, not UXLX.
UXLX is not UXLA.
No.
They're not affiliated with each other in any way.
No, UXLX has nothing to do with UXLA. Or actually LAUX, which I have on my list.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Sorry. Oh yeah, UXLX. I thought we were talking about our LA people.
No, I'm talking about our Lisbon, Portugal people.
Okay, I get you.
All right. So.
Oh my God, I'm looking at the venue. It's really
gorgeous, isn't it? All right, UXLX is in Lisbon, Portugal. It's put on by Bruno, and I'm going to be really embarrassed because I can't pronounce Bruno's last name. And
can we just very briefly?
Yeah.
You want to guess what the full what the standard ticket price is for UXLX? This gets you access to one full day workshop.
Yeah.
The talks, obviously.
Yeah.
And then so they do 3 days of workshops.
Yes.
And then the talks
a
are
full
the
day, right? 1 day.
What
talks,
would you like? How many workshops do you want to attend?
I want to take 2.
You want to take 2? Just 2.
Yeah.
Wait, wait, 2. I'm gonna back up. There are 3 days of workshops, but 2 of the days have 2 half days.
Oh,
so
I want to take 3 half-day workshops.
You can't. You can take.
Oh,
you do it by
I want
the
to
day.
take 4 half-day workshops.
Okay, so 2 days of workshops.
Yeah.
2 out of the 3 days. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the third one. You want to guess what a ticket price is?
$1,500.
Oh, that's actually that's about correct. Actually.
Really? Okay.
How'd you know that?
I don't know. I'm just guessing. That sounded like what it would cost.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Good.
So Bruno. All right. I'm sorry, Bruno. Figueiredo. Figueiredo. I just call him Bruno. Bruno started this conference in 2000.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I spoke at the first one, and it was really funny because there were several of us UX people that all got an email from this guy Bruno asking if we would come speak at the conference.
Yeah.
And we all got the email at about the same time. And these are people that are like, several of us are connected, we're colleagues. I mean, it was me and Steve Krug and I think Peter Morville. They're just a bunch of people. And we were talking amongst ourselves because, you get an email about a conference. And if you've never heard of the conference, you go look it up and see where it is and see what it's about. And so I remember talking to Steve Krug and I said, Steve, I got this thing did you get this? And he said, yeah, I did. And he said, do you think it's real? Like, is there really a Bruno? Like, are we going to get on an airplane and when we arrive, like, they kidnap us or something? I mean, because we had never heard of this conference. It turned out to be, honestly, one of the best conferences I've ever spoken at. So I feel very highly about this conference. And from what I can tell, and I've talked to other people, and that was probably around 2010. And he's done it every year now, and it continues to be a great conference. And this year it's May 22 to 25 in Lisbon, Portugal. One of the things from a speaker's point of view, it is a dream. Okay. He's so good at this. And this was his first year. I mean, he picks you up at the airport or arranges someone to pick you up to the airport. They drive you to your hotel. He puts you up in a really nice hotel. As we're driving to the hotel, I pass a billboard that has my picture and name on it. A huge billboard advertising the conference. I thought that was a riot. I've never been on a billboard before. But he has really good speakers. Usually, many of them are authors. Good workshops. He's grown a lot. I'm pretty sure he says 500 attendees from 40 countries, and he limits it and he sells out. A good venue, lots of wonderful networking opportunities. From a speaker point of view, I loved what he did. He had the speakers had an opportunity before the conference started to get together and meet and do things together. So conferences that bond the speakers as a group are very special to me. As a speaker, when you get to know the other speakers, when you talk to them, when you find out, if you don't know them, you find out, what their specialty is. When the speaking schedule is set up so that you can attend some of the workshops and you can hear the other speakers, it makes a difference in your speaking. And I think it makes for a really cohesive conference. And then he did something, I don't know if he's still doing this, but the day after the conference, the speakers stayed an extra day. And, he's paying for all this hotel and stuff. And he had a special event, an all-day event for the speakers, in which he gave, and some of it was a surprise, like he didn't tell us what we were going to be doing. And we ended up touring a castle, and we went out to lunch, and we had our own private cable car to go ride around in, and I made friends there with other speakers that have persisted and are like good colleagues and really wonderful friendships, and now personal friendships. So as a speaker, I really appreciate that. So I love this conference. So if anyone wants to go to Lisbon, they should definitely check out this conference. Lots of great things to learn. I'm looking at the speaker list this year. It looks great. So check out that conference if you haven't been there.
So
Okay.
Speakers this year.
Speakers this year include, I see, the full speaker lineup. We have Scott Birkin, Dan Brown.
I looked through this list. I don't recognize anyone.
Oh, if you're in UX, you would recognize these names. Boone Sheridan, Cornelius Rasheru. Some of these I don't recognize, but Alistair Somerville, Kim Goodwin, Stacy Saronic, Sid Harrell, Kevin Cannon, Dan Lockton, Carrie Hain, Jess McMullen, Russell Parrish, Bruce McCarthy, Jamie Levy, Richard Banfield, Ann Time Gobble, Chris Risden, and Catherine McElroy. And he doesn't repeat his speakers too often, so it's always like fresh, fresh group. So I definitely recommend that one. All right, let's move on. You want me to do some old ones again? Go back in time?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Another one that was a while ago was DIBI. Design It, Build It. Isn't that an interesting name for a conference?
I like it.
It's a dual track. So there's the design track and the build track. So it's for I'm bringing it up on my computer here. It's for designers as well as developers, then kind of mingled together. I was at one many years ago. I don't know, 2011, 2012, in Newcastle, UK. This year it's in Edinburgh. Edinburgh is the way they would say it, in Scotland. We should get invited to this one because I've never been to Edinburgh and I always wanted to go. So if anybody from DIBI is listening, you should invite us so we can come to Edinburgh. It's a good conference. It's because it's Design It, Build It. It's a lot more technical, in some ways. It's not UX per se, but I thought it was a good conference. If you want to go to Edinburgh, this would be a good one to go to. It is a dual track because it's a Design It track and the Build It track. Not too big, at least when I was there. Several hundred people, but not too gigantic. So that's a good one. Another one that kind of goes back, and I'm sorry to be doing all these overseas. I'll get to more US ones in a minute for those of you who don't want to or can't travel overseas. NUX. Have you ever heard of that one, Guthrie?
Never heard of that one.
Let me see if I can get this right. It's the Northern User Experience. That's why it's called NUX. And I spoke at their first one, and also this is what is in Manchester, England. It was a really fun. It was a small conference, maybe 200-300 people, at least when I was there. I don't know where they're doing it now. It was at this really interesting kind of comedy theater club when I was there. So it was kind of an interesting venue. A little quirk. I just found the whole thing a little quirky and great fun. I think they do one day. It's a 1 day's worth of speakers, and then they might have some workshops. Let me see what they say about the next one coming up. I don't see a date for 2018. I only see a date for late fall in 2017. So maybe, here, I'm looking at the wrong year. Let's see if they have one scheduled for 2018 yet. Save the date, Friday, October 19th. At the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester. So I don't see any speakers yet. So, that's an interesting one. Let's see. Let's go way back in time, even further back, Guthrie. For me, although you've spoken at this conference without me more recently, and that's the Big D.
Correct. Yeah, I had a lot of fun there.
Big D conference in Dallas, Texas. Big D stands for, I guess, Big Design. You talk about that one since you've spoken there more recently than I have.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Very tight knit group. It's a regional conference, so very Dallas heavy. They have I don't know how to describe it.
Well, is it single track?
No, they have a lot of different tracks.
Breakout session, a lot of sessions going on at the same time.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool because it's a lot of smaller talks. They have one main stage and then a bunch of smaller talks, but a lot of extras. VR rooms and sales floors and this thing and that thing and panels and very very big. It's at a big hotel, but so it's all in one place.
Yeah.
And a lot of emphasis on social events and activities. So people seem to have a real good time there. And even after the conference, in quotes, is finished, everyone sticks around. And there seems to be a pretty good vibe.
So this is in 2018, this is September 21st, a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And September 22nd, a Saturday.
For sure.
And it looks like, I was just trying to see. I don't think they have their list of speakers up yet. So I've spoken at that conference as well, and I think maybe I taught a workshop there too. So there's usually really high quality speakers, high quality workshops. Like you said, does tend to be Texas based. So if you're down there and you want to network with UX people, that's a great place. But it's even fun to go to, even if you're not Texas-based.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, now here's one that another one of these that I go back with a while, and you recently spoke at as well. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Yeah, go for it.
It is the Internet Users Conference. Let me see here. Let me bring them up.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about
Well, this is one of those regional conferences. I'm trying to look for see if they have a 2018 information up, and they might not. IUE 2018. It's one of those regional conferences that started up. I don't see one up yet for 2018. It's usually in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And So most of the people there, kind of like the Big D Dallas, most of the people there are from Detroit, Ann Arbor area, but not always. People coming from outside. Some of the speakers coming from outside.
It's a smaller conference with
a smaller,
smaller budget, but it's also cheaper tickets. So
yeah,
and
they have workshops. I think they have half-day workshops beforehand, and then they have like 1.5 days of speakers and conferences. It is a single track.
Mm-hmm.
Tends to be really practical.
Had a nice breakfast in the morning.
Yeah. So, and I think sometimes they do it in other locations. Like I know in the past they've done it in Arizona. I think they were talking about doing one in Hawaii. I don't know. Anyway, put on by our friend Dave Metropolis Rundus. So that's a great conference. And if you're in the Michigan area, you definitely want to check that out. And even if you're not, you might want to check that out. Inexpensive, small. Let's see. What do we want to talk about next? Let's talk about the opposite of a small regional conference. Let's talk about South by Southwest.
Which is, I guess that's technically a conference.
It is a conference. It's going on right now.
Oh, is it?
It is.
You didn't get invited this year, huh?
No, I did not get invited. I've spoken there maybe 3 times. It is the monster of all conferences. I mean, it's crazy. It's in Austin, Texas every year. There's actually 3 conferences that go one right after another. There's South by Southwest Music, South by Southwest Film, and South by Southwest Interactive.
Right.
And which is kind of all things tech and digital, and it's not just UX. To say it is multi-track is like an understatement.
Well, because
like
it's not. I mean, the thing is, you have to know is it's not a conference. It's like a festival.
I guess, but I mean, there's speakers and presentations. It takes over the entire city of Austin. I mean, you cannot get a hotel room anywhere certainly within a 5-mile radius. You cannot get a hotel room when it's going on. I typically get a hotel room out in the burbs, and there's one train line, and then I take a train in. And it is just craziness. I mean, there are so many sessions. There's music events, there's food events, there's things, it takes place at the convention center and then all the hotels around the area. So you might have to walk like half a mile to get to the next talk you want to go to. You might get there and then you can't get in the room. It's really nutty. So for someone like me, it's like total overwhelming.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
I don't even go to any sessions because I get so overwhelmed and I can't figure out what to go to. And I just literally like stand there and don't know what to do with myself. Honestly, some people like it. For me, it's really difficult. I think there are videos on, it's kind of like going to Disney World, where you have to like watch the videos and read the blogs about how to plan your trip, how to plan what you're going to do while you're there. I think the last time I was there, I ended up just in the exhibit hall, which is fascinating. And you could spend hours. I did spend hours in the exhibit hall, which is organized by geographical parts of the world. So, people from Korea have their row where they're showing all their new digital products. And anyway, it's quite the place, fairly expensive. And a madhouse, but something interesting to experience. Not too bad from a speaker's point of view. They did okay. At being a speaker there, I usually was there having to do with my books, speaking about my books and stuff. You've never
which
been,
are
right?
very popular. No, I've never been. They're not going to invite me.
They're not? Probably not. You're right. You could become famous one day.
Yeah, sure.
Enough to get there.
By the time I get famous, South by Southwest won't exist anymore. It'll
That's not
been
true.
passé or something.
All right. Let's talk about... Do you still want to do these in terms of time?
Yes.
All right. Then probably we should talk about... Maybe we should talk about UX Brighton. You can tell I've been invited to a lot of British conferences. Can't you?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know, but
And I like going to British
I haven't been to a
conferences.
single one.
I know. You haven't been to any of these. All right. UX Brighton. Brighton, UK. Brighton is kind of a small city in the... let's get the right location here. Because I went by train, so I don't know that I was totally paying attention. Oh, it's due south of London, right on the English Channel. I remember walking along looking at the English Channel. It's a relatively small conference, really well done. I don't know if they always do it at the same venue. Looks like they do. It's a concert hall. So we have actually some great, I think we have a photo, maybe even at our website, of me speaking. Someone was in the top seat in the back and took a photo of me talking, and like I'm a little blip. They're so far away. But it's still, they do a really good job with lighting and sound and all of that. And the next one coming up is Friday, November 2nd, 2018. It's going to be the 8th annual. And they usually, they every year they have a theme. And I'm trying to remember what the theme was when I was there. I mean, it obviously had to do with psychology and human factors when I was there, because that's why I was there. This year, the theme is advancing research. So they're going to, it says, we'll be taking a deep dive into research, looking beyond traditional methods to tackle everything from how research can inform strategy to building research teams. They haven't announced their speakers yet. I think this is a very well done conference. I think that, at least when I was there, I was very impressed with the other speakers, and their level of knowledge and ability. It's a single track conference. I believe it's a one day. I don't think it's super expensive. Looks like they have a super early bird, and they're rate and a group rate, and right now the regular rate, because they're selling super early bird tickets right now for £110. Whatever that is in dollars, I don't know. And their regular rate is £170. Do you know what the rate is?
You can call it like $150.
Yeah, so it's very reasonably priced. I mean, obviously, if you're not from there, it's going to cost you some money to get there.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really good conference. I mean, if I were someone, I would consider traveling to go to this one. I think the quality of the information is really good. So that's UX Brighton. Let's see. Again, looking at this chronologically, we probably should talk about, we should probably change location and go to, let's see. Do we have a drum roll here? How about, no, I apparently have the wrong name of the conference. Uh-oh. I'm trying to find the one we did in Tel Aviv. I wonder, maybe they changed the name of it.
This one I'm not going to be able to help you with.
You're not going to be able to help me with this, are you?
I wasn't there.
And I thought I had this all organized, and now I'm having to... Oh, that is because I do have the wrong name. Okay, let's try this. Give me a moment. Tell a joke or something, Guthrie, because we're on the air. Here we go. UXI.
That was bad.
That was tough. I was starting to sweat. UXI.
Yeah.
In Tel Aviv.
I remember that now. I would have remembered, except UXI is like such like that could be anything, you know.
Really?
Well, that could mean that. Who knows what that means?
And I think now they're calling it UXI Live. Maybe they always called it that. Maybe I just called it UXI. And so this is a huge conference. I mean, there were, I don't know, my memory is that there were like 1,000 people, 1,500 people. So that's pretty big for a UX conference. And they do workshops beforehand, and they do, I think, a full day single track. And, well, they say over 700 participants, but I think there was more than that when I was there. And it looks like we missed the 2018 one. It was in February, so probably February 2019 for that one.
We should apply.
Part of the world. We should maybe apply. Yeah. I really enjoyed the trip to Tel Aviv, so I would definitely go back. All right. Ooh, we're starting to get a little more recent here.
Finally.
Starting to get a little more recent. Let's go next to the smashing conferences. So, the smashing conferences are put on in multiple locations. Let's see where they have them. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find all of them. They're usually in Germany, and there's usually one or two in the U.S., San Francisco, New York, typically. So we'll talk about the one in the U.S. So it's coming up soon, April 17th to 18th, 2018. Now, this is a much more what I call technical conference. I'm going to be honest with you. I've spoken there like maybe twice, once in San Francisco, one in New York. And I was like the odd UX person, you know. Everyone else is quite technical. So, for instance, this one coming up in San Francisco, there's Adi Osmani, engineering manager at Google, passionate about web performance and tooling, and has listed his open source work that I have no idea what any of these things are. And yet, then there's Yiyang Liu, who I think works at Microsoft, and but she might not be too technical because she's taught typography and magazine design, so she might not be super technical. And then we have like Mina Markham, who's a front-end architect. Rachel Andrew is a front and back-end web developer.
Sounds like a real conference.
Yeah. I mean, I remember sitting in on some of the...
Not these silly little design conferences.
No, well, there's Joe Leach, who's
conference
the author
that'll
of the
put some hair on your chest.
No. We have someone who wrote a book called Psychology of Designers. And we have Kate Dawkins, who's has a studio. So there's some different people. But I remember sitting in on one of the talks, and honestly, I had no idea what this guy was talking about. I mean, and I've done some programming. I had no idea. And it's like an auditorium filled with 500 people, and they're all madly taking notes and applauding him, like really liked him as a speaker and had lots of questions. And they were like speaking a foreign language to me. I had no idea what they were talking about. People tend to come every year to these conferences, so I know people really like it. The people that put this on are a wonderful group of people. They do a speaker dinner the night before, of course, which I like because it bonds the speakers. They have workshops before, maybe after, also maybe just before, and I think before and after. And another thing they always do is they have a mystery speaker. So they don't tell you who it is, and you find out when you get there who the mystery speaker is. So they're a very nice group, a fun group. But again, you definitely go and look at the website, because if you don't know what these things are, like I didn't, it might not be the best conference for you. But if you tend to also be a little technical, you might really like this because it combines both. All right, let's see. We're almost out of time, so we got to go faster. Bend Webcam, which I think have they...
Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, have they changed the name of that conference?
Probably.
I thought they changed the name of the conference. Bend, Oregon, such a fun place, a great group of people, kind of a marketing conference. Yes, now it's called Swivel, I believe. And let's see if we know the next date. Swivel conference tends to be in the fall, 2018. So it's there's some UX there, there's a lot of marketing there, relatively small, tends to be people from the Oregon and Northwest area. But that was a fun conference, and I really liked going to Bend. So we got them. There's a big UX conference now in Seattle every year called Convey UX. You've heard of them, I think, right? And that's really turned out to be quite a big conference. So if you're anywhere in the Northwest or you want to go visit the Northwest, definitely check them out. They just had the 2018 one. It was February 27th to March 1st, so you have a whole year to plan. A huge conference, multi-track, speakers who are well known in the UX field are there. So if you want a big conference with many well-known names, and it's 3 days long, that would be a great conference to go to. And I only have a few more. I have USI. You were there with me, Guthrie, which stands for...
That's a conference.
Unexpected Sources of Inspiration. And that is in Paris.
That is a pricey conference, but you get a lot.
Yeah. It's a big conference in France and in Europe in general. I don't know that there's too many U.S. people that go to it. It's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, it's everything. They cover everything: marketing and tech and UX and AI and change the world. And I mean, it's because it's called Unexpected Sources of Inspiration. So it's not narrow in focus at all. It's quite wide. We'd have to give them a good rating on food. It's a big, very big conference. How many people were there?
They had fresh coconuts that were cracked in front of you, and then you drank out of them.
Yeah, we were impressed with that.
I mean, it's at the Louvre.
It's at the Louvre.
Like
the Louvre Art Museum.
What more
How
could you ask for?
much cooler can it be than that? There were multi-tracks, like 2 or 3 tracks, right? And there were 2,000 people there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big conference. But if you need an excuse to go to Paris, that would be good. I was trying to find their 2018 dates, unexpected sources of inspiration, to see if they have, and they actually have a lot of their video. They put their speakers on video, so you could go check some of those out. Here we go. June 25 and 26, 2018. So, check them out if you're interested. Now we have,
Business to Buttons.
From Business to Buttons, which I tried to start with.
Yeah, I know.
And you wouldn't let me.
Womp, womp.
From Business to Buttons, I loved this conference. I thought they did so many things right from a speaker perspective, for sure. Lots of speaker bonding and so on. It's in Stockholm. It's May 15th this year in Stockholm. It's a one-day conference, but it does have workshops before and after. It's all about, it's not strictly UX. How would you describe it, Guthrie?
It's design, Scandinavian design focused.
And they have people from the U.S. too, and from all over. Like this year, Jared Spool is one of the speakers. Maria, I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, Gudis, Johnny Ulwick. They have somebody from India, people from Sweden.
We love Sweden.
When I was there, I opened the conference and Al Gore closed it. That was really fun. So we
did a whole podcast about it at the time.
We did.
You want to go back into our archives?
Yeah, you can learn about that. So that's a great conference. If you want to go to Sweden, Stockholm, you should check that out. I have a few more on my list. Habit Summit.
Is that going to be in New York this year?
No, he's still doing it in San Francisco.
Okay.
So Nir Eyal, who we've had on our podcast as a guest, is the host of that conference.
Ahead of the curve on ethical design stuff. He's been doing that for years.
Now, Habit Summit, that's a conference where people go back year after year after year. We talked to people who've been going for years, right?
Yeah.
And it's coming up soon, April 10th through 12th, 2018. And it's a small conference, like 300, 400 people.
That's moderately sized for a conference.
Yeah, but not thousands.
Sure.
Workshops beforehand and then a full day track, all about psychology and design and good speakers. So we like that conference. I definitely recommend that conference. And I have only a few left. We were at a conference. It's called STEMA, or is that really the official name of it? I'm trying to see. What is the official name of it? I spoke there. I should know.
Brussels?
In Brussels, yeah. It's a marketing conference in Brussels every year, put on by, here it is, put on by the the main marketing association in Brussels. It's a Belgian Association of Marketing. There, I finally found it. So it's definitely marketing. They're great speakers, though, about all kinds of stuff. A lot of UX stuff, a lot of design stuff. So even though it's marketing, I thought there was a lot of design aspects to it. A one-day big conference. I don't think they had. No, actually, it was a 2-day. I don't think they had workshops. I think it's just a big conference. Let's see. RGD.
Yeah.
Which stands for, what does that stand for? It's a design conference. It's I'm trying to remember what RGD stands for. RGD is a group, an association that certifies graphic designers. It's a Canadian organization, and they put on a number of different conferences. They have Design Thinkers Conference. They have, I was in one, and that was in Toronto. So it's mainly for what they call visual communicators. But I thought a lot of the speakers were just general design, and then they had me, doing UX kind of stuff. But that's a good group, and I don't see when the next one is for 2018, or I would give the date. Let me see if I can find it. No, I don't see it 2018. So you got to go look and see where that's going to be in 2018. I'm almost done, Guthrie. I might be done.
There's some, I'm sure we've missed a couple here or there, but...
Well, there are other groups that put on, like, events.
Right.
But I think these are the main ones that conferences... Because this is just a list of conferences we've attended or spoken at.
Correct.
This is certainly not a list of all the conferences you should check out. It's just the ones we've been to. Whew, I made it.
People should invite us to more conferences.
Why? So we can have a 3-hour podcast episode on conferences?
10-hour podcast.
Well, if you are interested in having us speak at your conference... We are interested too, aren't we?
Very interested.
And we even have a list at our website of keynote topics we give. And I do want to mention, these are like public conferences. We speak a lot at internal conferences that are not on this list because they're just conferences put on by particular organizations for their employees or their members. So if you're interested in having us speak at those, we'd like to talk to you too. All right, Guthrie, if people want to reach us, where should they do that?
Email info@theteamw.com.
And go out there and attend a conference. They're fun. You need to get away from your work.
This is 2018. Everyone has money now, right?
I don't know.
Boom times.
Just try. Even if it's just a little local one, just try. Because the perspective, the networking, I think...
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I feel like back in we'll just call it the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, companies had money to spend on their employees. The perks, the traveling perks were nicer. You got paid for travel days. They would pay to send people to conferences, that kind of stuff.
Maybe.
And as insurance costs have gotten more expensive and you've eaten all the budgets of all the companies, that's gone away. Do you feel like that's the case?
No.
I feel like no one ever has any money to go to any conferences because their employers just aren't shelling.
No, that's not the case. Look at all the conferences there are. If no one has money, then why are we speaking at all these conferences? No, I don't think that's the case. I think certainly money is tighter, perhaps in some places and for some people, but I think obviously people are still spending money on conferences. So I don't agree with you, but we could hear from people and see what they think.
It's really dumb.
What?
That we can't have a bagel bar and count it as a de minimis fringe expense.
Okay, I think this podcast episode might be.
I just want bagels for free.
All right, you know what? Go buy a bagel, and I'll pay for it.
Oh.
All right, guys. So here you go.
See, you just got to ask your boss for what you want.
For what you want.
Maybe it'll happen.
And maybe, right. And please, everyone, if you could send a bagel to Guthrie, He really needs bagels,
Hey,
apparently. And
in all honesty, right down the street, there's a place called CTA Bagel Authority.
Yeah.
And they have bagel sandwiches and stuff. And they're like, they're pretty pricey, like $8.
Yeah.
But I believe from 3 to 5 every day is happy hour.
Yeah.
And you can get any bagel sandwich. They steam them. Any bagel sandwich for $4.20.
Well, there you go.
Because it's
now,
$4.20.
you do realize
it's
you live in Chicago.
$4.20.
I live in central Wisconsin.
$4.20.
I have to drive literally 2.5 hours to even get a bagel.
What happened? Okay? Now, I remember Wausau used to have all kinds of bagel places.
No, they don't anymore.
They all shut down?
No, that's
right.
What
was it, the Great American Bagel Company?
The Big Apple.
Big Apple, sorry.
My husband makes his own bagels. Because we can't get
I need to
bagels.
get in on that. I need to start making bagels. Is that hard?
Yes. And it's complicated and it takes multiple days.
Okay.
But if you're desperate, that's what if there's no bagels around. So instead of sending Guthrie a bagel, send me a bagel.
No, send me bagel chips.
Okay. Guthrie, it's been great talking to you. Maybe next time we do need to get another guest speaker because otherwise we go off the rails. Hey, everybody, go sign up for a conference.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.